Hey everybody, I'm John.
And I'm Natalie, and we are American Tifosi. On this podcast, we talk about everything Formula One, drama on the track, drama off the track. We're talking about it here today. And this week, we have got the Spanish Grand Prix.
That's right. We're going to be reviewing the Barcelona Grand Prix. The last year it's the Spanish Grand Prix, and Natalie will be American Tifosi's trackside reporter. Natalie, what are you most excited about for this weekend's hoopla?
Yes,
All the
this weekend,
festivities.
the festivities started this past weekend, honestly, for me. Barcelona is getting really excited for this race. I already saw Carlos Sainz earlier this week at his Williams fan zone, which was really exciting. I would say the thing I'm most excited for is to see the drivers in real life and to watch, just to watch them drive around, to see the cars in real life, to see the drivers in real life, where I'm going to be going to a couple of the fan forums to get to listen to some of them talk. And this is something I've been only dreaming of being able to do for since I started watching Formula One. And now it's actually happening, and it's really exciting. And I'm going to be at the track in just a couple hours tomorrow morning. So mostly I'm just excited to actually see them in real life and watch everything happen.
Cool. Well, we're excited for you, and we'll wait for your report. And I of course want a Williams shirt and
Yes.
a lots of good pictures. Um, the track itself, I think, is it's interesting. You and I were talking a little bit before. There's a little bit of drama stirring up, and you being in Spain, maybe you've heard of it more. But one of the reasons Formula One got rid of Imola is they didn't think European countries should have two races.
Right.
Uh, and as we know, next year we have the Madrid race, which
Hmm.
is already being called the Spanish Grand Prix, which kind of implies
Right.
that maybe Barcelona is out.
Hmm.
Um, and then I actually just heard, and then I guess if I'd have thought anything about soccer, Madrid and Barcelona are like rivals in the sports world.
Yes. Yeah.
So I can imagine a bunch of Catalonians are upset that not only are they losing a race, but
Hmm.
their arch rivals are gaining a race.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to run with 23 races next year. We already know Imola is not happening, so I don't know
Right.
if I don't know if we know officially that Barcelona is not happening.
We
Um,
don't know yet officially. And I think it's interesting that we don't know that information yet. Like you said, Emma is leaving for Madrid to take its place, which would theoretically still be 24 races. But we haven't heard anything about Barcelona. Are we only going to have 23 tracks next year? I don't know.
right.
I think maybe they'll have a transition year where they try to find another place to replace Barcelona. I'm not sure. But I know that Barcelona as a track is there's a lot happens on that track. It's a very overtake kind of track, and a lot of the racers enjoy this track because there's a lot of overtaking. It's a very wide track. So I'm not quite sure it's really a good track to lose because it's a good track to race. I know that some statistic like 2023, there are 100 something overtakes in that race. So I don't know. I don't know that they really should be losing Barcelona, but it doesn't make sense to have Barcelona and Madrid, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you were mentioning that the drivers really like this race, and you're right. They do like this racetrack. And for many years, it was used as the preseason testing site and
Hmm.
the shakedown site, which usually happens in early February, right? Um, and this track was in particular useful because uh, it has a little bit of everything. You've got high speed corners, you've got low
Hmm.
speed corners, you've got banking turns, you've got
Hmm.
two pretty big DRS zones. One of their
Right.
straights is like the second or third longest straight in Formula One, behind
Hmm.
Monza and Jeddah, I believe. Actually, Vegas might have overtaken that too, but there is. This is one of the tracks that I imagine they coined the term lap one, turn one, because the race
Hmm.
to turn one. And I will say, you've said it's an overtaking track, and it's not known as an overtaking track. It is possible, but sadly, something like eight out of the last 10 drivers have won from the winners have won from the front row.
Right.
There will be lots of midfield passing, I'm sure,
Hmm.
but once again, qualification is important, and that's
Yeah.
you know, I know we argued kind of about Monaco. It's not to me. It's completely apples and oranges. It's
Hmm.
uh, qualifying is important in every race, and it's a little bit
Hmm.
more important in Barcelona, and it's everything in Monaco.
Right.
So it's still different. And then we got to talk about our two Spaniards, Carlos and Fernando.
Yes.
Carlos Sainz and Fernando Alonso are both Spanish. They call Spain home, uh,
Hmm.
and I think they both kind of called this their home race, but as soon
Yes.
as as soon as Madrid happens, that will officially become their home race, and maybe that's just because of where they were born in that
Hmm.
region of the country. But um, as you've already mentioned, you were at Carlos's fan zone, but he
Yes.
does a lot of philanthropy for Spain, and he's, from what
Hmm.
I understand, has always been very thankful and humble about where he's come from. So
Right.
um, I'm really excited and hope the both of them do well
Hmm.
in their home country because they
Absolutely.
both could use a shot of luck. The other day when we were talking about Monaco, our review of
Hmm.
Monaco, you had mentioned something that, and I keep meaning to ask you about Williams and
Hmm.
Carlos Sainz and Carlos getting the
Hmm.
short end of the stick.
Right.
And I wonder if you think that I would like to know if you think there's anything to that. Why does Carlos seem to get the short end of the stick?
I don't know. The only explanation, and maybe it's too straightforward and too easy, is that Alex has been there with Williams and Carlos only has a 1 year contract. So maybe he's not seen as invested into Williams as Alex is, as Alex has been there for longer than Carlos. Um, my secret hope or wish is that Carlos might go to Cadillac or maybe Red Bull next year. So I don't know, maybe it's just that. Maybe it's just that Alex has been around longer. They're giving Alex better, just better choices than Carlos. But I don't know. I think just specifically in Monaco, it seems like Carlos, they waited for Carlos, or they waited to give Alex his pits and then Carlos his pits. That was just my only thought with Monaco and maybe getting the short end of the stick.
Well, and they mandated that he swap the positions back. Carlos was
Right,
ahead, right? So
right,
Albon pitted after, so Carlos passed him, and then they said
right.
swap the positions. So that's kind of the reason I've asked because it was what just 3 or 4 races ago that Carlos basically pulled Alex Albon around the track
Mm-hmm.
and kind of he gave up his own race for the good of the
Right,
team.
right.
And if you're giving up your own race for the good of the team,
Mm-hmm.
then why not make the same thing for Alex Albon? In other words, if
Right.
it, you know, um, why make them switch the positions back?
Right.
And also, it what was it Miami? I can't remember what race, but they basically told Carlos to slow down so that Albon could catch back up to
Mm-hmm.
him.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder if it's the same thing. And you mentioned that he's on a 1 year contract.
Yep.
Yeah, I've forgotten that. I didn't know that. I didn't realize that to be true. Are you sure that's the thing?
I'm pretty certain
Okay, I'll look
it's
into
either
it.
1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
It's not a long contract at all by any means.
Well, I will tell you that I really like Carlos Sainz. Maybe a tangent for another video, but I am super excited for his dad to run for president of FIA.
Me
Um,
too.
but if he goes to Red Bull, I will cease immediately, no longer be a fan. I don't
Really?
like I dislike Red Bull that much
That
that
you won't even like, you won't
I
follow
won't.
Carlos Sainz to Red
No,
Bull?
I won't. I won't.
Oh my
And I will
gosh.
also tell you that your bold predictions have putting or your predictions for Isaac Hajar and
Yeah.
me calling him rookie of the year. I want him to slow down now. I want him to
Why? You don't
because if
want
he
him to
gets,
go to Red Bull?
well, let's be honest here. If you go to Red Bull, you go to die. And I don't want
Yuki's
Isaac or
holding on
Carlos.
so far. Haven't heard any rumors of Yuki leaving the seat yet.
We haven't, but he hasn't been doing great. I
Right.
mean, and we all kind of thought Yuki, this was a short term deal anyway. But if they call up
Right.
Isaac Hajar, I just don't. I mean, it's like, all right, well,
Yeah.
Isaac Hajar had a good rookie season, then he was never heard from again. And then pretty soon they'd be like,
Right.
oh, he's probably with Jimmy Hoffa somewhere
I think the
in the
problem
Las
is
Vegas desert.
all of the top teams right now, they're secured with their drivers.
Yep.
There's no
Oh,
room
except Red
near the
Bull.
top for Isaac to go anywhere besides Red Bull. And like you
Yeah.
said, that probably wouldn't be good for him or his career unless he has the same exact driving style as Max, which we haven't heard anything about.
Yeah, but
So
I think
there's
we
no
would have
room
heard that,
for
I think.
movement. Right.
Yeah, I agree. Or you just work to make VCAR better, or VCAR Red Bull weird only gets one freaking Formula One team,
Right.
you know? So, and then, just to talk a little bit about the track for the nerd and also to when we are overlaying images here, I want to be able to show where are you sitting?
I am sitting in Grandstand Tribuna N, which is right at turn nine before it. I think it's right at the DRS detection zone, and then they go into the second straight of the track.
So are you before or after the turn or in the turn?
Where I'm in the turn.
Okay, oh sweet. So right after the DRS, right before DRS activation. That's dope.
Correct. Yep.
And so is that where you sit for practice, quali, and race? Okay,
Yes. Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, turn nine will be a great lead up to the DRS zone, like you mentioned. So you
hmm
might see a bunch of people coming fast out of that
Yes.
turn, uh, ramping up to try and pass on that straight.
Right.
The biggest turn one is kind of the most noted passing area,
hmm
and of course lap one, turn three is okay. And then turn 13 and 14 are like big sweeping right handers, and that's where
hmm
cars that have figured out downforce
Right.
are going to do really well because they can maintain that speed. Which, with the new technical directive coming out, that is going to be. We'll see who still has the high speed downforce.
Yes.
Um, Lando is recently made a comment that he doesn't have confidence in the high speed corners. So we'll see. And so far, it's we might get a little controversy brewing because Lando doesn't have confidence in the high speed turns, and that might be more about him because Oscar does.
Right. And the technical directive, it starts this weekend at Barcelona.
Yep. And so the technical directive, I think it was Hungary of last year, so about the midway
hmm
point of last year, some teams started noticing other teams were using flexible material to compose their front wing and their rear wing. And so the faster the cars were going, the more this flexible material would kind of open up
hmm
under pressure,
Right.
which is serving as a mini DRS. Um, F1 said it's not illegal, but they're going to make a change, and they imposed a test, and it's a pretty simple test. When the car is flat,
hmm
not moving, they have
hmm
said that I think it's 50 kilograms and 75 kilograms for the three or four different measuring areas. It can only deflect 17 or I'm sorry, 15 millimeters. So
hmm
it's basically one third reduction in what they were able to do, and that takes
Right.
effect this month.
Yes.
Sorry, this race, and teams that are known to have gotten the most or thought to have gotten the most out of it. And then I actually just
hmm
listened to a report today. All 10 teams were doing this. So it's not
Yeah.
like one team was getting a significant advantage and another
Right.
team wasn't. Last year at Hungary, McLaren was gaining a significant advantage
hmm
because they were the only teams doing it.
Right.
But then everybody else started doing it, and notably the teams that have done it the least are Red Bull, Ferrari, and Aston Martin. So
hmm
you would think that we might see a little bit of performance
From them.
for, yeah, and it's not necessarily a gain. It might just
hmm
be the other teams slowing down.
Right. Right.
Um, and the teams that seem to use it the most were Mercedes, McLaren, Williams,
hmm
um, and Alpine. But Alpine doesn't matter because a dumpster is
Right.
only going to go. It doesn't matter if there's a hole in the dumpster or not. So it'll be interesting. We might see a little bit of fall off, and then
Yeah.
as a member of the American Tifosi, I was so encouraged to think about this. Like, all right, cool. Ferrari was not really. I don't want to use the word exploiting because it was considered legal, right?
hmm
But they weren't using it as much, or taking advantage of it as much as other teams were.
Right.
So I was like, man, that's awesome for Ferrari. But then uh, the thing that I'm nervous for about Ferrari is this track in particular. Um,
Mm,
if you look at the races that they've done pretty well at, it's where
hmm.
there's either high speed corners or low speed
Right.
corners. They haven't been able to figure it out. Like Ferrari figured themselves out at Monaco and it was great,
Yeah.
but there's no such thing as a high speed corner at Monaco.
Right.
And they did pretty good, okay at Jeddah, which is all high
Hmm.
speed.
Right.
But it's where there's a mix of the two that.
Hmm.
So I'm optimistic for Ferrari because of the technical directive, and I'm pessimistic for
Right.
Ferrari because of the so different kind of a track.
I don't want to say too much about Ferrari because they're my favorite team, and I don't want to even possibly jinx it at all. So also that's a foretelling of my bold predictions that barely bold. I'm scared to say the wrong thing and it come true or it not come true, and then the race will be ruined. But I'm just gonna say that I have hope in Ferrari like I always have hope in Ferrari.
Yeah, I don't know how much I believe in that, but I, at least for this prediction, am also not going to say anything about Ferrari.
Yeah.
Um, However, you might, looking at my predictions, notice the absence of Ferrari and infer whatever you want out of that too.
Yeah.
So it's like, suck. I don't want to jinx them, but then
Hmm.
me not putting them on there is like kind of predicting that they're not gonna do well. So
Right.
it's one or the other. So um, yeah. In fact, do you want to just go into our predictions?
Let's do it.
All right, pole position.
Pole position. I said Oscar. And listen, that's not because I mean, Oscar might do good, but that's just the safe answer. And I'm going to be very, very safe this weekend.
I said Lando, and I guess this I think might be the only. Um, I just mentioned he says that he just made was quoted as saying he doesn't have a lot of confidence in his car in the high speed corners.
Hmm.
So um, if there was ever a time to find confidence, it would be during qualifying when you're not racing someone else, you're only racing yourself.
Right.
So I kind of think that I mean we still think McLaren has the best car.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
and you'll know before I do with practice. Like if McLaren fall off,
Hmm.
then we'll know that technical directive hit.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, I saw a few experts just for a real quick, I guess, prediction or whatever that said that the team should lose maybe a few hundredths
Hmm.
uh, of lap time because of this technical directive. So not very much.
Yeah.
And for reference, so far in the 8 races thus far that we've had,
Hmm.
um, nobody's the second place qualifier has not been down by more than a tenth. So
Right.
hundredths matter in qualifying, but they don't matter in the long run.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I have Lando podium. I went Oscar Max Lando.
Okay.
Oscar
I
for
said,
reasons that go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Oscar for reasons that you already said for qualifying is I think he's it should be argued. I've made this statement already, so it's not a hot take that I think Oscar is a better driver than Lando, and they're
Hmm.
driving the same car.
Right.
Um, this kind of track is exactly the kind of track Max wins on.
Right.
Imola. And
Hmm.
so I don't want him to win, but it would be foolish to ignore the fact that this is the kind of track that Max does good on. And then
Agreed.
Lando, if you qualify first, you're probably finishing on the podium unless something bad happens. So
Right.
I'm going Oscar Max Lando, and I'm not sure I like it, but that's what I'm going with. What
I
about you?
went, the only thing that I wrote down was Oscar Lando and nothing for third. And that's because I'm just too scared for this race. This is gonna be what the highlight of my year, one of the highlights of my life. Even if I go to more Formula One races, this is the first one I'm going to. I'm really, really excited for it. I don't want to jinx it at all. Now, is my secret mystery answer up there probably Max? Yes, it is because Max has won on this track, and like you said, this is one of the tracks that this is the type of track that Max wins on.
Yeah.
I don't want to predict that. I don't want to
Okay.
predict it. I don't want to, I'm not hoping for it. I'm not going to put it there. I'm going Oscar Lando. And if that loses me a point on our point scale that we're tallying, that's fine. I just I'm too
That's
scared.
fine.
I'm too
Yeah.
scared to ruin the
Well,
weekend.
or it might be 18 car crash and it's only the top two finishers, and then you would be right.
There could,
And
well, and you
you,
know what? I'd be okay with watching that. At least it's exciting.
you would, yeah. Well, and you would have seen a race that has never happened before in the history of
Right.
Formula One. So, all right, bold predictions. I'll let you go first.
Okay.
Because
I
I already know
said,
you're gonna have things to say about mine. So,
I said every driver finishes. That's a hope for me. It also doesn't normally happen. Not all 20 drivers normally finish the race. And last week they didn't. I dare say that's a bold prediction. Is it cheating a little bit? Yeah, but that's my bold prediction. Every
uh,
driver finishes.
yeah, I don't know if it's like, yeah, I would, I'd have to look, but I don't think every driver's finished once this year. So you're probably right.
Yeah,
I think that's a good bold prediction.
thank you.
So,
Please.
all right. Well, here we go. I was going to predict, and so I'm going to split a forced compromise for Natalie's
Okay.
sanity. I was
Thank
going
you.
to predict that both Spaniards score,
Yes.
and she didn't want me to predict that to put that out in the universe. She didn't
Yeah.
even want me to think it, but I can't not think it. I've already been done thought it. So
Right.
I am not going to predict that.
Okay.
And I'm also not going to predict what we talked about with our Scuderia, our
Okay,
prancing
great.
horses. Um, I
Right.
am going to predict that Alpine gets points.
And you know what? I'm okay with that one. Listen, I don't need Franco to score points if we're jinxing it here. I just need Franco to finish the race. That's
Now,
all I ask for.
see, so now I would argue, just to play devil's advocate with you, that my bold predictions have been pretty good so far this year. So if I were, say, predicting both Spaniards score, then I'm doing something good for both of our guys, people you admit to liking.
You could say that if it weren't for last week in Monaco. That
Fair. That's
because
one
you
race.
yes, but they were specifically about the two Spaniards.
Yep,
And
true.
I'm too
Look,
scared. So everybody, if they do, which we're not predicting that they will, we can go back to this moment and look fondly on John's thoughts, but it is not an official prediction.
fair. It will not be a prediction. If it turns out, then I get my predicting rights back.
All right. I
All
can
right.
agree to
Well,
that.
um, any final thoughts?
My final thoughts are, oh my goodness, I am so excited to go to the race this weekend. Um, I will be posting on our Instagram, the American Tifosi, all throughout the weekend. Lots of content, lots of zoomed in images of Sean Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, the works. And I will probably have a little few clips to share here on YouTube as well by the end of the weekend. So look for those. And I'm really excited, and we will see you guys next week. Those are my thoughts.
Can't. Cool. I can't wait for your experience. I'm very happy and excited for you. I can't wait till I one day experience that as well. I'm excited for
Yes.
what hopes to be a good race. But the good news is, no race can be as bad as last week. So I already know you're going to a better race than what you just saw.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm excited to talk about it with you after the race and
Yes.
hear your real life reaction to all of it. I bet it's
Yeah.
awesome. So.
Yeah.
Until then, we will be back next week with the wrap up, and then we'll have a quick break before we move into Canada. Even though it's called the
Yes.
European leg, I guess
Right.
the Montreal track has been annexed into Europe for
I
the
suppose
European
so.
leg. But
All right. Bye, guys. We'll see you next week.
see ya.